Welcome back to the Jon Krawczynski Show. I'm Jim Suhan. He's Jon Krawczynski from The Athletic. This is our basketball and NBA show at TalkNorth.com. Thank you so much for listening. We do appreciate it. We are coming to you from the Aquarius Home Services studio.
Scott for Aquarius, where we make home services easy. Summer's wrapping up and those cold, crisp mornings are on the way. Is your furnace ready for the change of seasons? Upgrade now with 36 months 0% financing and stay comfy from the last warm afternoon to the cold winter ahead. Beat Mother Nature at her own game. Schedule your free estimate at AquariusHomeservices.com. Financing based on credit approval. Aquarius, earning the right to be recommended.
Hey, this is Randy Shaver. Along with Kevin Gorg, we host the show Fantasy Huddle on Talk North. Each week, we're going to break down the matchups for the NFL season and try to give you the best chance to win your fantasy football games each and every week. Join us for Fantasy Huddle on Talk North.
And we're presented to you by Lexus of Wayzata and Maplewood. John, I know you have a special guest today. I'm going to let you introduce him and introduce us to this very interesting new topic.
Yeah, hello, Wolves fans. This is John, just checking in here. We're only a couple of weeks away now from training camp. The season is close to getting started here. Everyone's getting excited. Everyone's thinking about getting back into the arena to watch Timberwolves games. And so thought it was a great time to sit down with Jordy Leeser. He is the co-founder and CEO of Jump. And Jump is a new venture. He's partnered with Mark Lowry and Alex Rodriguez and the Timberwolves and Lynx to change the way that fans experience, buy tickets, do a lot of different thing at Target Center. And so, Jordy, I want to thank you for sitting down with us here at the Jon Krawczynski Show. And I want to just start with a kind of a wide angle question. Just can you explain to fans exactly what Jump is and how it is going to change their experience at Target Center in the upcoming season and beyond?
Yeah, absolutely. The premise behind the company at Jump and why we built Jump to begin with was that we thought that when Mark and Alex and I were talking about what they wanted to do differently as new owners of the Timberwolves, and one of the biggest problems with sports fandom today and attending sports events is that it's way too transactional. You buy a ticket, you have to go through these ticketing companies. Historically that was Access for the Timberwolves, and before Access it was Ticketmaster, and it just feels very transactional. You buy the ticket, you go to the event, and that's it. And that's just not how it works when you're a sports fan. There's all the engagement, all the content, all the experiences, everything about your favorite player, the team, merch, F&B at the venue, games, all of it is part of the experience. And so what we wanted to do is turn it from a transactional kind of experience into a relationship between the club and its fans and basically remove the middleman. And so that's the idea behind Jump. Is we call it a unified fan experience and ticketing system or ticketing platform, which basically means that the mobile app for the Timberwolves and everything in it is in large part powered by Jump, but you don't see Jump. And so as a fan, you just log in with your Timberwolves account and you can do everything right there. And so that allows for a completely seamless, so much easier process for fans, whether it's checking out news, whether it's buying tickets, whether it's reselling your tickets, and then a bunch of the cool features that we're bringing this season. So it's just a totally seamless way for the fans to experience going to a game with one account with the Timberwolves.
Yeah, and the first thing that when I first heard about it and was trying to process it, one thing I thought of is, here's another app I've got to download. I've got to put in a new account information, new password, and use that. But as you said, this is just layered into their Timberwolves app. So when fans go onto their phones, you hit the Timberwolves app, and everything in that app is powered by Jump. There's not something separate that fans need to sign up for.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, effectively, the way I think about it is the ticketing system just disappears. Like, you're just buying tickets from the Wolves. And if you can't make it to the game and you want to resell your tickets, you resell your tickets with the Wolves. And so historically, if a professional sports team, moves from one ticketing system to another, it's a big pain in the butt for fans. They have to, learn the new ticketing system. They have to learn how to do their account and log in, and how does this whole new ticketing system work. And in this case, they're leaving their old system, which was Access, and there isn't a new system to learn. It is the Timberwolves. And so it just makes it so much easier for the fans. And by the way, this is a high tech startup. And so this is a Silicon Valley quality, digital experience that fans today come to expect in every other part of their lives. And, traditionally in the sports world, I would say that's not the level of technology that people are used to. And so we want to bring that as well.
Jordy, it is difficult to find anyone that agree, or, any subject that anyone is agreed on universally. But I think one that I can find is there's not one fan of concerts, of games, of any sort of ticketed event that enjoys the ticket purchasing experience. Right. Everyone hates it. Everyone complains about it. The fees, the hoops you have to jump through, all of those things. Can you you're embedded in this. Why do you think it has been that way? And what are you hoping to sort of solve or make easier here in, for a subject that seems to be universally hated by the ticket going public?
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of ways that this has kind of gone sideways for customers and fans over the decades. The biggest thing you can think of is that there was just never a system that was actually built for this use case. The history of ticketing for events goes back into the 70s. That if you really go back, there was a company called Ticketron, which is a great name, that eventually was overtaken by Ticketmaster. And Ticketmaster at that time was a ticketing agency. And so they were basically hired by, events and venues to sell and distribute paper tickets via kiosk or in person to events. And then when you have a legacy company that basically operates as a paper distribution company and a ticket logistics company and an agency. And then today, here we are, and look at the kind of technology that we have at our fingertips in the AI revolution that we're in, and just the massive sophistication of the tech world. It's just not possible to sort of convert a company like that over time into what is expected today by fans and customers. And so the parallel that I like to think about is if you think about Airbnb. So Airbnb, they have a inventory that they're selling, right? They're selling homes and rooms and, cottages and, campsites and everything else that Airbnb offers. It would almost be as if Airbnb then sent you away to a third-party ticketing system to actually book your Airbnb, as opposed to doing it right there natively embedded inside of Airbnb. And so that's almost impossible to imagine that you're on the Airbnb app and then they send you away to some other company to actually do the booking and buy the place, right? Or rent the house. But that's basically how it works today in the sports world. And so we thought, well, every team should just operate like Airbnb does. They have their own app, they have their own technology. It's totally owned and controlled by them. They can do whatever they want with it. They can create the branded experience they want. It's their customers. You log in with them. You buy your tickets inside of that experience. You resell. Everything lives inside of that one digital space. And so that's what we're trying to bring.
Now, Mark, Lori, and Alex Rodriguez are not just obviously, kind of partner, or I would say business partners in the way of just using Jump on their app, but they're also investors with you in the company. Can you just tell me a little bit about how that relationship first started? How did it come to be that you connected with Mark and Alex, and what kind of allowed the three of you to kind of really take an idea to more of a reality here? Yeah,
sure. So I've actually known Mark for 15 years. He and I both went to the same college, the same university, Bucknell University. He was about 10, 12 years ahead of me. And we met when it was in his early days of building diapers.com. And I was just a struggling entrepreneur trying to figure out, how to put one foot in front of the other. And he was gracious enough to give me some of his time and advise me and just sort of help me get started in my journey as an entrepreneur. And that was a long time ago. That was maybe more than 15 years ago. And so he and I just became fast friends, and he's always been just a mentor and kind of a big brother for me in business. And so as he built all of his companies and I built enterprise software companies on my side, he was always a customer of mine and just a great sounding board for me. And so we got to a place during COVID where he was rolling off of his latest role after selling Jet to Walmart, and he was a CEO of Walmart's digital business, where he was leaving Walmart and he was exploring all kinds of new things. And I had just exited and sold our company, my last company. And I was kind of looking for something else as well. And we were just kind of batting around ideas. And he brought up this idea that after he and Alex looked at buying, that first it was the Mets, which didn't work out, but then this opportunity with the Timberwolves, it was just very clear that if they were going to move forward on buying a sports team, they wanted to do things, truly different in a way that was truly innovative and, brought real technology to the fan experience. Because Mark has always been super dialed in on the customer experience and pushing the envelope on customer experience. But if we were going to build anything, it's also enterprise software. And that's my world and that's my background. And so the two of us started, jamming on these different ideas. And then he said, oh my God, well, you got to talk to Al. We got to talk to Alex, bring him into this conversation. And so then I met Alex through Mark, and that was in 2021, right around the time where they signed the deal with Glenn. And then soon after they signed the deal, the three of us got together and said, hey, this is the opportunity. This is it. If they're going to buy this NBA team, man, wouldn't it be unbelievable to actually build, the first of its kind, purpose-built technology for a professional sports team to own the experience, to run and control it the way that they would want to, and deliver, the most cutting edge experience for their fans. And so that was basically how it went to pass. And we all invested in that first little round of funding to get the company off the ground, and then have brought on additional investors since then, 4 years ago.
Pause here to take care of the business of the business. We want to thank our many sponsors, starting with TSR Injury Law. We want to thank TSR Injury Law. They've been sponsoring this program for a long time. One of our original sponsors, probably our primary original sponsor, TSR Injury Law, 612-TSR-TIME. I think they just recently on their social media bid a happy birthday to Naz Reid, who they've worked closely with in their ad campaigns. You see the billboards around town. The billboards drove their success, also highlighted their success. The fact that they were able, the fact they are able to advertise so many places is due in part to the fact that they've won so many cases. They're able to increase their advertising budget beyond shows like this, and that led to them getting more clients and winning more cases for more clients, and so on and so on. This started off as a very small business. They are now a very large, successful business that acts like it. They have power. They use their power to help people who need their kind of help. If you're injured, call 612-TSR-TIME, 612-TSR-TIME. They'll take good care of you. I guarantee it. We also want to hear more about Lexus of Wayzata and Maplewood.
That's right. If you're in the market for a new luxury vehicle, look no further than our good friend Charlie Swanson at Lexus. Whether you're on the west or the east side of the Twin Cities, they have got you covered with two great locations, Lexus of Wayzata and Lexus of Maplewood. Check out the all-new Lexus TX, a spacious SUV with 3 rows of seating and plenty of room for all your gear. Head over to lexusofwayzata.com or lexusofmaplewood.com for details and to find your next ride today.
Thanks also to Royal Credit Union.
Royal Credit Union is your trusted advisor for all your business banking needs. Whether you're starting or growing a business, Royal offers a full suite of business account and lending solutions to meet the needs of your business now and into the future. Royal has business checking and savings accounts, business certificates and money markets, treasury management services, and business loans. Choose Royal Credit Union as your business's financial partner and get started today at rcu.org/royalbusiness. Insured by NCUA. Loans subject to credit approval. Equal credit opportunity.
John?
Yeah, and Jordy, when you have a mentorship with Mark for a long time, or a different kind of relationship, what's it like now having that partner, like being in business with him and kind of, I guess, operating day to day, the communication with him, and he's generally what I've found to be a very enthusiastic person. And just like, what's it been like to kind of shift from the relationship to now you're partners together building this thing?
I mean, I still learn from him every day. Like, it's amazing how experienced and sophisticated Mark is as a business builder and an entrepreneur. It just has allowed me to supercharge all the learnings and all the advice. Obviously, Mark is operated in many different businesses over the last couple decades. I think he's probably still the most underrated entrepreneur of our time. And for whatever the reason, he sort of somehow flies under the radar relative to, I think, the peers operating at his level and building the businesses with the kind of scale that he has. And so I continue to learn from him every day, whether it's just asking him questions or just watching him and observing how he does things, whether it's with Wonder or the Timberwolves or anything else. And then Alex, I have to say, has also just been an unbelievable mentor for me, and just learning from him about how he carries himself, the way he thinks. He's an unbelievable marketing and branding mind. His transition from, it's very well documented, I think, his transition from the playing days into the business side has just been unbelievable. And so to have him as a partner and just the yin and the yang of how he and Mark, they kind of are like co-founders effectively of the Timberwolves, the way they run things with very distinct, spikes in different things that they're experts in. And I've just learned a ton from both of them.
I do want to get into more of the features of what's going to be in the app going forward for fans and what they're going to benefit from that way. And we'll get to that in a minute. But I just wonder, and also, I mean, when you look at an arrangement like this, what benefits do the Timberwolves get from doing it this way in terms of whether it's, learning more about the customer base and getting the data that way, or just how are the Timberwolves as a team going to benefit from going about things with Jump now going forward?
Definitely. There's a long list. So just to start with the fan side, obviously the Timberwolves are trying to put on the best product that they can for their fans. And, off the court, the digital experience of every possible touch point that a fan might have digitally with the Timberwolves, they want it to be world-class. And so the end result, and I'll talk about the benefits for the business side of the Timberwolves, but the end result is that for the fan, it's just a completely elevated, seamless experience. And like I said, you're logging in with the Timberwolves. That's it. And so Jump is invisible. There's no ticketing system to sort of have to figure out or mess around with or link up your accounts or any of the nonsense that we all have to experience, with other clubs. And so it's really kind of working from the fan experience backwards. And then on the team side, this is just an unprecedented territory to give teams the tools to basically own and control the journey for their fans with all of the data, all of the messaging, all of the marketing, all in one place. And what I mean by that is that today, without Jump, teams have to stitch together a handful of solutions that don't really fit hand in glove, and they're not real time, and so the data's not real time. The UIs are different, as you would have to kind of bounce out to a ticketing site, or to have to bounce out to some other marketing landing page for Star Wars theme night. And so for the business side, every single action that a fan takes, whether they're reading articles, whether they're looking at merch, whether they're looking at floor seats or suites or group tickets or anything, like clicking on ads all the way down into the conversion of the funnel to buy tickets, all of that now becomes available for the Timberwolves to personalize the experience for that particular fan. And in doing so, they can obviously deliver like a way more relevant offer or a way more relevant message to any given fan at any given moment, which is the definition of how any direct-to-consumer business grows their business, is obviously tailoring the experience to that one fan, which is very different than the experience for another fan. And then we can get into, all the really fun features around, the dynamic in-game exchange and upgrades, which I know you want to get into. And so there's a lot of really cool dynamic features we can build into it as well.
Yeah. And just building off that last point, Jordy, we were in Vegas, and, we met and talked a little bit, and Mark and Alex talked a little bit about what this was all going to mean. But one of the interesting things was, I heard you talk about how right now, as it stood in the current kind of fan to franchise interaction, every fan was essentially treated the same, whether you were a first-time ticket buyer and coming to see your first Timberwolves game, or whether you've been there for 400 games. And so how does this sort of this change, how does it help you sort of cultivate the different kind of relationships that come with, if you're kind of connecting with a true diehard that is there game in and game out, or someone who is maybe just dipping their toe in the water and figuring things out for the first time and just kind of exploring things, or maybe just more of a casual fan?
Yeah. I mean, one of my favorite parts about what the capabilities of Jump is this hyper contextual messaging or engagement. And what I mean by that is, depending on the context of that fan in that situation, their experience with the Timberwolves will be different. And so let's say it's your first ever time going to a Lynx game. Well, okay, right before the game, maybe a day or two before the game, you should be getting a message from the Lynx that says, hey, we're so excited, for you to come to your first game. If you don't have any gear yet, here's 25% discount on hats or sweatshirts or jerseys, to pick up at the venue before the first game, right? Because if it's your first game, you probably don't have any merch. And so let's get this fan going on some merch. And then maybe after that first game, you should get a message. Let's say the Lynx won, as they tend to do these days. Let's say, it says, oh, thank you so much, John, for coming to your first Lynx game. You're our lucky charm. We'd love to get you to another game. Fill in the blank offer for that fan to buy tickets to, an upcoming game that maybe has some available inventory. And so again, kind of trying to turn the one game buyer into a multi-game fan. And so whereas the season ticket member, maybe halfway through the game, if that season ticket member is sitting, let's say in the second level, then that message to that season ticket member might be, hey, Mr. K, thank you so much for your loyalty to the Wolves or the Lynx. We'd love to offer you upgraded seats for the second half. Click here and, it's on the house, or, brought to you by, Target or Delta Airlines or whatever. And so there's just different ways based on what we know about that particular fan, where they are in their fan journey, that the system can build automated campaigns that try to make it a better experience and deepen the fan engagement, for each individual fan. There's just countless ideas that you can pursue there.
Talk North and the Jon Krawczynski Show. We love working with great local businesses, including True Vision Institute.
True Vision Institute in Bloomington. Go to truevision.com to get your consultation set up. You'll go into True Vision. It is an incredibly welcoming environment. They will take you through a consultation that gets you to your right vision correction means. And for me, it was LASIK surgery. And I've told you before, but it's just one of the best decisions I made for myself. Makes life a lot easier. And the thing about it is that the procedure itself is so quick, and it's done and it's over almost before you can blink, literally. And you're done. You walk out, you go home, you rest for an evening, and you are seeing clearly that evening and the very next day. And your life changes immediately because of it. So you go to truevision.com, tell them the Jon Krawczynski Show sent you, set up your consultation, and just kind of enjoy being educated and being cared for the way that True Vision does that, because it's on a level that I've never experienced anywhere else. truevision.com.
Let's also hear from Shepherd Goods and Lamb Chops clothing line.
sglambchops.com is the place to go. Go to use the promo code JONK20 for 20% off everything at Lamb Chops. We're talking about great, active, stylish, casual wear, shorts, hoodies, sweatshirts, t-shirts, hats. They've got it all at Lamb Chops. And most importantly, they are super involved in the community. They are a regular presence in Minneapolis and St. Paul. Jordan Dye, one of the founders of Lamb Chops, was just putting out kind of some prompts on social media asking who else they should collaborate with in the Twin Cities, but they are a big part of the sporting landscape, and they are a local company that is just doing great things in Minnesota. We love to support them. We love to partner with them. So go to sglambchops.com, promo code JONK20. Get yourself some great looking gear with a local company that gives back to the community just like you want it. sglambchops.com, Lamb Chops Clothing.
And Jon, tell us about Princeton's Liquors.
Princeton Liquors in Maple Grove. Bill Princeton and the Princeton family have been in the business for decades and decades. Go into Princeton's Liquors in Maple Grove. They have a wide assortment of anything you could want in the beer, wine, spirits category. That includes THC seltzers. That includes, all sorts of different wines, alcohols, and things like that. But they're, as I've been telling you, their specialties, craft beer, and bourbon. They have really kind of carved out their niche in those two areas. Incredibly unique, wide array of selection of both local and national global brands that you can get, high priced, more affordable. Anything that you want in the craft beer and bourbon selection, you can find it at Princeton's Liquors. Make it your one stop. You're going, if you're looking for something that will wow somebody, that will impress somebody, if you're looking for a gift, or if you're just looking to get something that you really like and to start enjoying this fall-like weather, go to Princeton's Liquors in Maple Grove.
Jon?
And okay, Jordy, let's get to the main event here. As we talk about, because I do think one thing that has really captured the attention of fans is this idea of the dynamic pricing within a game. And I come to a game and like you said, I'm sitting in the second deck, watching the game, and I look down, in the front row or in the first, 10 rows, 15 rows, whatever it is. And there's a bunch of empty seats for whatever reason. It's a blowout, bad weather, whatever. And you say there is going to be the options for fans to upgrade and to get down there and experience a quarter, a half, however long it is. Can you take us through how that is going to work and what a fan is going to see and how they could potentially take advantage of this, within a game?
Absolutely. So, and we're going to roll this out, slowly, throughout the beginning of the season. And so, and it also is subject to obviously empty seats. And so obviously we, as big supporters and partners of the Wolves, we hope that every seat is purchased and filled and people come to every game. But as we all know, there's always sometimes some empty seats. And so, the idea is that during the game, inside of the Timberwolves app, you'll be able to open up the app and see if there is any available inventory for fans to jump up to, better seats to get closer to the action. And over the course of the game, this probably won't open up until, I'm guessing, some point in the second half. So maybe the third quarter, the fourth quarter. And fans will be able to browse the seat view, what is the view from that particular seat in real time. And the prices of those open seats will be dynamic and changing, throughout the game. Theoretically, the price is going down as there's less time left in the game. And over time, this becomes a very sophisticated, kind of pricing engine based on a multitude of factors. But the idea is that fans can browse available inventory. If they see something that they like at the price that they like, then they can basically, hit the offer. And, with like one or two taps, they will be able to book that upgraded seat during the game in real time and pay that, relatively de minimis price relative to the full ticket price if they were to buy that seat for the full game. And there they go, right up to the better seat mid-game.
And on the flip side of that, Jordy, if I'm sitting lower in the lower deck and I have a really good seat and for whatever reason I have to leave or I want to leave or whatever, is it that person? Will that person like kind of check a box on, hey, the seat is available for the rest of the game? Or am I going to the bathroom and then all of a sudden my seat is coming up for auction? Or like how does that whole work out?
Yeah. No, you don't have to worry about that. If you, so the way we're starting with, the idea of available inventory for upgrades is basically there's three chunks of sort of buckets of available seats. The first bucket is seats, inventory that was never actually sold to begin with. And so that available inventory, the Timberwolves, like any team, will try to sell those tickets all the way up until the game starts. And if throughout the game those seats remain unpurchased, then that inventory will be available for upgrades. The second bucket is fans who actually don't show up, right? So they bought tickets or they're season ticket members and they get to the very end of the game. And we're going to be working with just a sort of select number of season ticket members who are opted in to this, where they basically say, hey, yeah, if I'm not there by the end of the game, you can put these seats available for upgrades and inventory with their permission. And then the third bucket is people who leave early. And so it's that last bucket, the leaving early group, that we're going to wait to sort of refine and perfect the first two buckets of inventory. But the idea is that now with geolocation and kind of other dynamic ways to know that someone was in the building and now they're very much not in the building anymore, whether they actually have to take action or it's just the simple fact that we know that person is no longer in the building or on the premises, that those seats can then be made available. But we're going to be very careful and very hyper vigilant to this idea that as long as someone has a ticket and they want to go and they want to sit in their seat, they will always obviously have that right.
Mm-hmm. And how will it affect the kind of one of those buckets that you discussed is someone buys a ticket, they can't make it for whatever reason, they're just not going to the entire game, and they want to resell it. I know that some Wolves fans in the past under previous sort of models have expressed a frustration with the ability or the ease or lack thereof of reselling their tickets. How does that change, if at all, with Jump?
Yeah, it changes in a big way in that this is now within the total control of the Timberwolves. So historically, I think ticketing companies, because remember that they basically worked with ticketing companies to do the ticketing work for them. So it was like an agency model. That's why they were called ticketing agencies. And so they're the procedures and the rules and various capabilities were the purview of the ticketing company. And now, because we're giving all the tools and handing all that control over to the club, if a fan wants to resell their ticket, it's obviously extraordinarily easy within the new Timberwolves app to resell your ticket, because again, it's just you're doing it with the Timberwolves. And then it's up to the Timberwolves on exactly how long they want to enable the resale marketplace to persist once the game starts. And then as long as a fan wants to resell their ticket, they can resell their ticket. There then just becomes this moment where today, the resale tickets stop at some point during the game once the game starts. But in the Jump vision, the Jump powered vision, that ticket can continue to be up for sale as long as the fan wants to and the team wants to allow it, if that makes sense. And so it's really just a decision about, the team in terms of if the fan wants to sell the ticket, but no one buys the ticket in the first quarter, then what about the second quarter? What about the third quarter? What about the fourth quarter? That's just where we kind of have to figure out what's best for the fan and what's best for the club.
Have you, Jordy, seen or heard like any, I guess, pushback or obstacles or anything that are trying to be put in your way? Because I mean, the ticket selling venture is a huge business. It's been done this way for a very long time. You guys are disrupting that in a significant way. Like, what's been the feedback on that end of things, or in terms of just trying to implement something that is new, that certainly does go against the grain of a long, very wealthy industry that has just chugged along forever and ever?
Well, yeah, you mentioned it, earlier on in the conversation that I think there's a general consensus in the industry that this can be done a lot better. And that view has been held for many, many, many years. And that's both on the fan side and on the team side, the operator side. And the reality is just no one's ever built a system for sports teams. Like there's just there's none of the incumbent ticketing companies can say with a straight face that when they were building their systems, they were doing it with a sports team in mind. All of the features, all of the fan experience, functionality, all of the seamless benefits that we're bringing with the Jump powered solution. We're doing it because we've spent years meeting with 100 different teams and owners and executives trying to understand what their needs and wants and desires are. And that's what we built. And so, of course, like any industry where you have large incumbents, they're not thrilled about a new player coming in who maybe is taking an approach that's very targeted to solving what I would consider to be kind of the unmet needs of the industry. But that's how it works in startups and in innovation is, there's a gap in the market. There's maybe no love lost for the incumbents. And there's an opportunity to do something new. And so this is a particularly big one and a hard one. But we think that, the opportunity is just screaming for a big, bold new player to come in and solve these longstanding problems.
I know you have had already some arrangements with a few other teams. Do you see this as possibly, could you envision it going out to the rest of the NBA, for example? Or, frankly, does Alex and Mark's involvement, does that make it harder from a competitive standpoint to do that? Like, what do you see the growth and where this thing can go from here?
Yeah, I mean, we want this to work as well for the Timberwolves as it can for every other club in sports that is interested in owning and controlling their own, fan relationships. And we're pretty sure that the Timberwolves and the Lynx are not the only clubs that are interested at this point. Obviously, we need to nail it first with those clubs before we can really scale it. But I can tell you, the fact that Mark and Alex are obviously invested and a part of this, that actually helps us. It doesn't hurt us in any way. I mean, Legends is one of the largest companies in the space of sports entertainment, and Legends is in large part owned by Jerry Jones and the Steinbrenner family. And so I think a very large percentage of all the professional sports teams in the U.S. actually work with Legends. So I don't think the fact that there's an owner involved, on the cap table as an investor would hinder us in any way. And I think from what I can tell, the other owners that I've met across professional sports, they're very keen to watch what Mark and Alex are doing because of the fact that they are just coming at this with a new lens on technology and innovation, and they're willing to take risks and they're willing to try things that I think for a long time people have been, reticent to do. And so watching with a keen eye, I can say that there's a pretty dramatic level of interest in what we're doing at Jump across all the leagues.
And so do we expect in terms of the rollout, will it be ready night one, home game one of the regular season? How do you, is everything on track to go that way, or is it earlier, or is it going to be a little later? How do you see it just kind of rolling out and being implemented for Wolves fans as the season approaches here?
Yeah. It's actually already rolling out right now. So you can go to the Apple Store or the Google Play Store, and you can today download the Timberwolves mobile app, which you wouldn't know it, but behind the scenes is all powered by Jump. The ticketing functionality and buying tickets is also rolling out as we speak. So the way that the Timberwolves like to roll out their tickets is they do season plans and half seasons and flex plans first. And then, from there rolling out, pre-sale for single game tickets and then single game tickets here in mid-September. And then, by the first game, I think there's the big first regular season homestand. There's like a 3 or 4 games, I think, in a tight stretch there in that first week. And so, every fan will be using the new Timberwolves app and using the new ticketing system. And then, like I said, we'll be careful about rolling out, some of the really fun new features around the in-game marketplace and some of the other integrations with merch and F&B. We want to get the basics right, but very soon, once the season starts, we're going to be, testing all these features, and then we're excited to get all the feedback from fans.
Will you have any butterflies on night one of doing this, or like how do you feel like just like the overall nerves/emotions of, hey, this is you're taking a huge step forward with this to do it within an NBA arena and with a presumably sold out crowd, so it's going to be quite a thing.
Yeah, we're really I would say we're really excited. Yeah. We have a world-class team at Jump, and that's like, I couldn't ask for a better group of people to work with. We have people on our team, from some software engineers, the designers, the product managers, our implementation and operations folks. These are world-class experienced people. This is not a ragtag kind of group of startup people who are trying to figure this out. So, our CTO is a former engineering lead at Ticketmaster. Our chief product officer ran divisions at Amazon. Our experienced, executives and engineers from ticketing companies, but also scaled platforms across the board are hard at work making sure that this is a success. And we also, because we started this year, kind of an early warm up for us for the NBA was with the NWSL. And so we've had the opportunity to run several games through the season with our first customer in North Carolina, the North Carolina Courage. And that was a business that previously was using Ticketmaster and a number of other vendors. And the transition off of Ticketmaster onto all these different and all the other capabilities onto the Jump powered platform has gone really, really well. And so, yes, much smaller scale, but we do have the success under our belt there. And look, everything's not going to be perfect all the time. This is like any technology. There's little bugs and there's little things that are going to happen. But I can tell you that we're going to bring an entirely new and better experience for fans. That's the ambition.
Well, Jordy Leeser, founder and CEO of Jump, partners with Alex Rodriguez and Mark Laurie. I want to thank you for taking the time here on the Jon Krawczynski Show at Talk North to educate some fans. And I'm sure they will be only too happy to give you feedback as they really get rolling into this. And you'll hear directly from them. But really thanks for taking the time and looking forward to seeing how all this really does roll out in earnest as we get closer to the start of the regular season.
Thanks a ton, John. Really appreciate it.
Okay. Take care.
Okay.